This episode is brought to you by the Capital One Cafe, our go-to place for community and caffeination.
I'm sipping on my favorite, a caramel latte.
And I've got my favorite, a sparkling matcha ginger lemonade.
And if you'd like to redeem a free handcrafted beverage of your own, make sure that you redeem it in the link below.
It's on us. Thanks again to Capital One Cafe. Now back to the episode.
Hello,
and welcome back to the Two Cents Podcast. I'm Hannah Williams.
And I'm James Daniels.
And today is kind of our last recording at the Rittenhouse Capital One Cafe for the foreseeable future. By the time you listen to this, we will be back in the DC metro area. Our little trip to Philly is over, sadly. This is the last week. I'm sad to go back.
Yeah, I definitely loved being in Philly, and it was a great time, but it is time to head back home.
It's time to head back home. And with that, I want to make a few announcements because we have really exciting things coming up. We actually will be back in Philly next week, and we'll also be in Seaport, Boston. We are hosting 2 free events with our community. It's going to be like a workshop, but really it's going to be a one-on-one opportunity for us to connect with you all. You can ask us any questions you have about careers, content, money, and we'll be there to answer it. So we have a plan, but also it's up to however the community that shows up really wants to take it. So we've got 2 events coming up on the 20th and the 22nd. May 20th will be the Seaport Boston event, and May 22nd will be back in Rittenhouse Square in Philadelphia. So if you want to sign up for those events, they're completely free. We'll also have a bunch of swag there, and we'll be there. So if you want to do an interview or just meet us and hang out with us and get a free sticker and some yummy food and drinks, then we'd love to see you. And the links to sign up for that are in the description below.
So make sure you check it out.
What else have we been up to, James? We've been on live on TikTok.
We've been doing TikTok lives these past few times that we went out to interview. And I can say that the TikTok lives have actually been going pretty well.
They've been so fun. I don't know about you, but I feel like we're getting closer to our community.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we had a few people show up who said that they were watching the live. And they gave everybody an opportunity to be able to see the behind the scenes of what actually goes on when we do street interviews.
Yeah, and about that, literally, somebody was watching our live on TikTok and they came running down and they said, I saw you on live. I came running down to do this interview. So I think that really points out that people are getting the live where we're located.
Yeah.
So it's a better way for us to reach people when we're doing interviews, because a lot of times we'll go out and do interviews and post on our story hey, we'll be in so-and-so area, but then people see it too late. And we get so many DMs from people saying, I didn't know you were going to be there. I missed you. Oh, I was just there.
Yeah.
So the live will push it out live to people in the area. So hopefully whenever we're in your city, if you see us on TikTok live, come on down.
Yeah, and if not, then drop a comment or a question in the comments, because what we've been doing recently with going live is answering questions to the interviewee from the audience. So
yeah, the best part, good point, James, is it's more interactive for you. So if you're watching the live while I'm interviewing people and you can hear the interview happening, I'll turn to the live. That's what I've been doing. And I'm like, are there any questions from our live viewers? And so you get to literally be part of the interview process and drop a question and I ask it to the person live. I'm sorry. This is just so cool to me. I think it's the next step for us. And I'm really excited about that.
Yeah, I'm definitely excited about it. And like I said, it's been going pretty well. So I can definitely see us doing more of these. And we would love to connect with our community more. So if you see us live in your city, come out. Come say hi. You don't have to do an interview, but we do encourage it.
We always have stickers. We've always got a little bit of free swag. So it definitely behooves you to say hi if you want a free sticker. If you don't, then I don't.
That's up to you.
That's fine. But yeah, so I would really like to do more lives every weekend. We have it set up that every Saturday we go live from 12 to 2 in a different city. And I think that'll make our tour more successful too.
Yeah. And I think the thing that would help that out a lot is by us going live and possibly even telling people about our Patreon.
Yeah.
To get donations and get people to vote on where they want us to go next. So if you guys think that that's a good idea, let us know. We'd definitely love to know your 2 cents on that.
Definitely. Yep. So our topic this week is recession indicators.
Dun dun dun.
Don't. There's a lot of content out right now about the recession or the potential recession, or if we are in a recession, there's so many opinions out there. But it does seem like there are some indicators out there that historically have pointed towards a recession or an economic downturn happening. Some are funnier than others, some are just kind of cool economics, but I figured it would be kind of fun to walk through some of those with you
Yeah,
today.
yeah, that sounds good to me. Just to start off though, one thing that's a recession indicator for me is listening to what the White House is saying compared to what the people on the ground are saying. And
Mm,
one big thing that I heard was the White House pretty much saying, "Hey, you're going to go through pain for a little bit before it gets better." And now
yikes.
civilians are starting to say the same thing. So that's a really big recession indicator to me is because they're trying to brace us for the worst part of it.
Yeah, and they're lying to their constituents and their voters by saying things are going to get better. I mean, yeah, when things go down, they eventually go up. That's what history has
But it
told us.
doesn't have to be that way.
And it hasn't gone back up because of the same policies. It goes back up because of a change in policies
Correct.
that are different from the ones made to put us in the recession we're in. So I think it's just going to end up being a blame game where they're going to be like, when things are really bad, it's Biden's economy. And when it's really good, it's Trump's
Correct.
economy.
Correct.
But yeah, let's go through some of these. And before we start, I do want to, just because I know there's somebody listening who's going to say that this is insensitive, and I want to brace for that and say we are not making fun of anybody's situation. We are not looking to, jive on anybody who is participating in these recession indicators. It's just interesting economics and maybe food for thought. And also, humor helps people cope. The recession indicators and the memes that are happening, there's actually like a psychology behind that when things are really bad, humor of the situation really helps people get through it. And so we all know that, the recession is not anything to necessarily joke about. This is an interesting stat that I just wanted to share before we dive into it. Between 2007 and 2011, more than half of American families, half, lost at least a quarter of their wealth due to the Great Recession. So while we're joking about these recession indicators, this is a very real thing that might happen. And so we hope that if you're listening to this, if you can laugh with us through the pain, maybe also take this as food for thought and maybe some tips and tricks, ways that you can save money as well and reduce the spending in your budget to brace for potential hard times. I'll start with some kind of funny ones and then we'll go towards more economic ones. So the first one is called Recession Pop. And it's basically the resurgence of Lady Gaga on the charts. Lady Gaga releasing an album, Lady Gaga releasing songs and becoming popular again. People are saying that is a recession indicator because the last time she was this hot was like 2008. There's also this thing called recession hair, and it's basically that women just spend less on their appearance and these external indulgences that they make in their appearance. So, for example, you're going to see a lot less blondes. You're going to see a lot of blondes going back to brunette because if you don't know, dyeing your hair blonde from brunette is a very expensive process because you have to go back pretty frequently to get it touched up. And it takes a long time to do. It's not cheap. Like people go to the salon and they spend $100, $200 like that day on
Yeah.
their hair.
And I can
So
say that that creep has already started to come into play because within the first 3 weeks of us being here in Philly, I started noticing that there was a lot more women that were brunette or
mhm.
going back to brunette. And I
Mhm.
actually pointed this out while we were walking, and you informed me that it's because it takes a lot or it costs a lot to constantly maintain and upkeep blonde hair.
And that's because when there's a potential recession on the horizon and people's budgets start tightening up, the first thing out the window is those really large external expenses that are not necessary to live and survive.
Yeah.
If you are indulging in your beauty, your nail appointments, your hair appointments, your waxing appointments, unfortunately, those are industries that are probably going to have a really big hit due to the recession. And that's because people that are indulging in those expenses are going to stop. But not only that, they're not only going to blonde, you're also going to see a lot more grays, women just going naturally gray, and men too,
Yeah.
not to discount the men, but also this one's kind of funny. People are saying that seeing more messy buns is a recession indicator.
And I would also add seeing more bald heads.
Yes.
Yep. So.
Yep. Actually, that's true because it's easier to maintain. Just take care of it,
Yep,
get rid
just
of
cut it
it.
all off. No more turkey visits,
Hmm.
no more additives, just clean ball head. Or back to the afro, it's a lot less to
Yeah.
maintain. You don't have to get your hair cut as frequently.
Actually, yeah, I wonder how that's going to show up in different communities and,
Yeah.
how that's going to show out. That's interesting. I think this is so interesting. It's like recession math. Okay, so then now some more like serious ones, but they're really interesting. I didn't know about all of these. The more obvious one that stood out to me is this buy now, pay later thing where people are
Yes.
buy now, pay
Yes.
latering. They're using Klarna and these apps for DoorDash and concert tickets, which is just like the clearest indication of you cannot afford it if you're putting it on a buy now, pay later plan.
Yeah, because I saw a news article that actually brought that up at first, and it made sense that it's an indicator to a recession. Because during the time when we were all splurging and being very frivolous with our money, there was no need for us to put a concert ticket on credit or even DoorDash on credit. But
Hmm.
now we're starting to tighten our wallets and they want to make it so that it's a lot easier for us to still indulge in those things without the feeling of needing to spend that money right now.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So it's one of those like they get you
Yeah.
and now you're on the hook and you have debt. Now you have debt for your burger. You have debt for your Charlie XCX tickets. And I'm not judging because I would probably buy Charlie XCX tickets on buy now pay later because
Yeah.
I'm sure they're very expensive.
Yeah, it sounds like a really good deal though. That's the thing. It's very enticing. You
Hmm.
want to, I mean, at this point in time, a lot of us love to spend the time outside in a group activity or whatever it is, and you still want to do that. But I don't have $500 to give you right now. So if I can spend $100 and still get that experience, just spend the other four a few months down the road, then that sounds a lot more enticing to people.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I'm not hating. I completely understand. Like I said, I would buy, really expensive tickets for that experience. I think there's a lot of judgment that occurs. At least I see that from older
That's what I was gonna
generations.
say is from a lot of older
Yeah,
generations.
definitely. And I kind of feel like I passed that judgment just a second ago where I was like, you can't afford it. But I want to stress that that's not judgment. It's just a fact. If you feel like you have to buy now, pay later, put something on a payment plan, then that means you cannot outright afford it. Like being able to afford something means you're buying it cash today. You're not buying it on credit. You're not putting it on a payment plan. And so I think a lot of us, including myself, have to look at situations and really be like, can I afford this? And times are tough right now. So if you can't and you see an opportunity for a payment plan to have an experience, that's an option. But you do have to understand now you have debt for that experience. And I would really focus on paying that off as soon as possible.
Yeah, and to add to that, one way, I mean, this is just like my strategy. I don't know if you guys really care for it, but one way that I avoid that overindulging in things in the spur of the moment is by telling myself, well, if this costs $500 and I usually have an extra $200 every month or so, then let me take 100 of those dollars and set it aside, and eventually I'll have enough for that. If by that time I'm no longer interested in that thing or whatever it may be, then therefore it would have just been spending money just to spend money.
Yeah.
That actually helps me avoid a lot of these frivolous spendings.
Absolutely. That 24, 48-hour
Yeah.
rule. It's like not buy now, pay later. It's wait now, pay later.
Exactly, exactly.
I love that. Okay, so this one is more, serious economic, less fun, but it's called the hemline index. Do you know anything about that?
Hemline, I'm thinking pants.
Well, hemlines, yeah.
Yeah.
It's more so tied to women and their dresses, but in the
Yeah,
20s,
dresses.
or at least it's based in, history in the 20s, women wore shorter dresses during the flapper era. And then as the economic downturn occurred later in the 30s and 40s, the hemlines went longer. So I guess they just look at that and say that if your hemline is shorter, times are good, but when your dresses and pants get longer, that's when things start going bad,
I
which
would
is interesting. You would
yeah.
think the opposite,
Yeah, I
right?
would think that it's the opposite because more material costs more money.
hmm
So,
I think it has maybe more to do with modesty and just people like not wanting to show off. Like, I think there must be psychology tied to money making you feel good and feeling good about your body and like wanting to show
Mm,
that versus maybe more modesty and humbleness when things are bad. You don't want to draw attention to yourself.
makes sense.
You know what I'm realizing? A lot of these have to do with
With
women.
women, yeah, that's what I was gonna say is that's what I'm noticing the trend is.
Yep, because this next one is exactly based on women. It's called the lipstick index. Any guess on what this one is?
Splurging on beauty products.
Yes, actually. So historically, we've seen that lipstick sales have gone up in economic downturns. So it's more so that lipstick is one of those more expensive, but less expensive compared to like face creams and stuff. So if you want to do an indulgence, if you want to do like a treat in yourself and buy
You buy
something nice,
lipstick.
you buy a lipstick.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yep. So it's like you're still treating yourself without breaking the bank.
Yeah.
And there's also a similar thing for nail polish. It's called the nail polish index. And they say that there's several data sets indicate nail polish sales increase more dramatically than lipstick
Which would
sales.
make a lot of sense because then you're no longer going to a nail salon. So
Yeah.
you have to do your nails on your own. So you
Yeah.
buy more nail polish.
Spot on. Now, this one is about men, actually. It's called the men's underwear index. Can you guess what that one
I'm
is?
assuming that we don't buy underwear in a recession.
Spot
That
on.
one is an easy one because I don't buy underwear now. So
We know you always have to do the laundry because you're always running out.
yeah.
So this must be a thing that men just don't buy enough
That's one of the
underwear.
first things to go. Like,
Women
why?
are like, I'm not going to invest in my beauty. And men are like, I don't need
Yeah,
drawers.
I don't need draws. That's it. I'm good.
That's hilarious. But that's actually exactly what it is that men's underwear sales decline in an economic downturn because they're just not even buying it,
Yeah.
period.
You still need pants. We will continue to buy socks regardless.
Socks are
Socks are a
safe.
staple, like a staple. But underwear, I can do without.
Another one that's really interesting, I don't think it has a name. It might be called the diaper rash index, but there is an increase in diaper rashes because sadly, parents are not able to afford as many diapers. So they try to stretch their diapers
Yeah.
as much as they can. And so in economic downturns, there's actually an increase in the sale of diaper rash products, which isn't that like funny?
I wonder is
Chicken or
the
the egg?
I wonder with that, do the sale of the like reusable diapers also spike?
No, I think they decline. Or reusable?
Yeah, the reusable
That's a good
ones.
question. I'm not sure. That would be likely, though. I could see
That's what
that.
I
Although I don't know about the prices, I would assume that reusable ones are maybe more expensive.
They are, but the good part about them is that they are reusable, you know. So
Hmm.
rather than buying a 24 pack of disposable diapers that'll last you maybe 4 days, because kids go to the bathroom a lot, you buy a 10 pack of the reusable ones and then just wash them or whatever the case might be.
Yeah, that would make sense. Yeah, I'm sure that's another indicator. We'll see.
Yeah,
But then there's also decreased snack sales. So snacks are just becoming more expensive nowadays.
honestly.
Yeah, it's really like a price of a meal to get a couple snacks versus a
On
couple dollars.
There is one thing though that we noticed being here in Philly and being able to shop local a lot
Hmm.
is that the snacks are cheaper.
Yeah, way cheaper, but
Yeah.
not at like big stores like
Yeah, well,
Walgreens,
and that's
7-Elevens. Those are expensive, but
yeah, and that's why I
locally,
said shopping locally.
uh-huh.
And yeah, they're cheaper and they may not be, you know, top of the line quality. You know, sometimes I get some snacks and I'm like, oh, these are a little bit stale, but like they're cheaper. So
Hmm.
I can overindulge at a local shop
Hmm.
and get all the snacks that I want.
Yeah, so that's one way to do it. And also, shopping locally is how we support our local small businesses and our economy. You're not helping small business owners by choosing to shop at a larger corporation. So, if you can choose to shop small, especially if there's an economic downturn, because they really need us more than ever. And the last one is called the garbage indicator. Do you know what this one is?
I would assume that we have less garbage.
Yes, you're spot on because they say that the economic theory, the psychology behind it is that when times are good, people are actually throwing out more things to make room for new things.
Yeah.
And then the opposite happens in an economic downturn. People are throwing less out and keeping more in because they're not making room for these new things. So, yeah, definitely something to keep an eye out for.
There is a possibility. I will say that. I'll start it off by saying that. There is a possibility that we are headed into a recession. We have a lot of indicators pointing that way. If it doesn't happen, great. If it does happen, do what you can to be prepared for it now.
Yeah, take a look at your budget. Make sure that you're going through all the line items, all the things that you are spending every month, your recurring expenses, and things that you are just seeing as outliers. And then look for ways to make sure that you are not cutting on those outliers or preparing for any outlier expenses, and then cutting out those recurring expenses that you do not need. If things get tough, definitely look at the things that do not sustain your way of life. And the most important things you should look at are your housing, your food, your security, your insurance, your family, anything that really goes towards that. But when it comes towards indulging in ourselves, definitely make room for a sweet treat. We all know diets don't work. It's the same thing with finances. We need to spend a little bit to indulge in ourselves every once in a while. It's really hard to be on a tight leash. So try to make room for those things that bring you a lot of joy. But if it doesn't and you're able to go without, then I would cut those things first.
To finish off, I'm going to read you guys a segment from Reddit. Am I the a-hole? We'll go ahead and get you guys' thoughts on this too as well. So, am I the a-hole for considering calling off my wedding because my fiance refuses to sign a prenup after I found out she has massive credit debt?
Ooh.
I'm just a middle-aged man supposed to be getting married in a few months to my fiance. We've been together for 3 years, engaged for 1, and for the most time, I've genuinely believed that we were on the same page about life values, and most importantly, honesty. For background, I've worked hard to build a stable financial foundation. I'm not wealthy, but I own my home outright, have no personal debt, and I've been saving and investing since my early 20s. It's been a priority for me, especially since my parents went through a nasty divorce that ruined both of them financially.
Ooh.
About a month ago, while we were discussing wedding costs, I brought up a prenup. Not in a cold, controlling way, I just wanted to protect the life that I've worked so hard to build.
Mm-hmm.
I was upfront that I'd still be fair and the agreement wouldn't leave her without anything. I expected an adult conversation. Instead, she immediately got defensive. She said things like, "So you're already planning for a divorce?" And "I thought we trusted each other." I tried to explain it wasn't about trust, it was about transparency and mutual protection. But she shut it down completely. That's when the red flags started popping up. She became evasive every time money came up, and I started noticing weird things about credit card offers in the mail, a few missed payments on shared expenses she said she'd cover, and lots of "I'll handle it later" energy. So I asked directly if she had debt. She admitted it. $92,000 in credit card debt. Not student loans, not a mortgage, credit cards. She said it accumulated over years from unexpected expenses and a few dumb splurges, but she never told me any of it until I forced it out of her. I was stunned. We were about to merge lives. This woman was about to legally become my spouse and didn't think that I deserved to know that she had 6 figures in debt. I told her this made the prenup non-negotiable for me. I need to protect myself not just emotionally, but also financially. I told her I was willing to still move forward, but not without something in writing that protects my premarital assets. She lost it, called me selfish. She said I was turning love into a business deal. She said my house and money should be hers too if we're truly a team. Since then, she has refused to talk to me about the prenup again, and we're barely speaking. Even her mother called me and accused me of humiliating her daughter and being materialistic. All I want is to not be liable for debt I didn't create and to make sure that the life I built before the relationship is protected. So now I'm seriously reconsidering the whole wedding. Not because she has debt, but because she hid it and then refused to take responsibility and is now treating me as though I'm a bad guy for protecting myself. I'm also certain that she could pay her debt since she is a partner in her friend's business, but she refuses to. So, am I the a-hole for thinking about walking away?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. That is such a red flag.
Huge red flag. And I'd understand if it was like 16,000, maybe even
Yeah.
20,000.
Less than 50, and if it was valid,
Yeah, or
like
even if
student loans
yeah, or
or
even if it
something.
was 92 and you had a mortgage or student
Mhm.
loans, that would still make
There's
sense.
different types of debt, but credit card debt from expenses that you don't even really understand, like how that happened.
Right.
Yikes. Oh, and it's such a red flag to me that she waited 3 years. They were together 3 years to even talk about it. That's very,
Yeah.
very suspicious.
So with that, now I have the question, right? that was 3 years that she didn't bring up to him
Mm-hmm.
that she had this huge debt.
Who's been paying for stuff?
Well, at what point in a relationship do you feel that it's appropriate to begin talking about debt and things of that nature, or finances for that case?
I'd say as soon as you are serious. And some people might think that that is, when you move in together or when you start talking about the future. For me, I would say it's when you commit to each other in a really serious way and not just like, oh, we're boyfriend, girlfriend, we're official. Like, I
Yeah,
would think about like when you're having those conversations about moving in together, when you're talking about, I think this is the long haul for me. Like when you're at that point, and I would say probably I'd say 6 months into it, I would definitely have that conversation. Because especially before you move in together, when you move in together, you're already
yeah,
legally signing on to each other in some way, shape, or form. If things go bad, you are now both liable for that apartment. And if you only signed for it and she didn't, she could wreck you. She
yeah.
could wreck your credit. It's a very important thing to talk about before you get anything involved legally.
Yeah, and that's what I was gonna say is I think that the best time to do that is when you begin to merge lives. So
Yeah.
moving in together or taking out any type of legal paperwork that has both of you listed on there with the intentions of you guys moving forward with that. Soon as you break out finances, it's a good thing to go ahead and not only talk about how much each one of you make, but also debt and expected expenses that you'll be having in the future. If
Hmm.
you have a mortgage, that's an expected expense that's going to be coming out every month.
Right.
That should be a good to know with the person that you have shared expenses with.
I don't know 100% what the situation was, whether or not she was paying and contributing to things, but it's also important to have those conversations so that you know where people's financial situations are. Because if he did know about her debt, then he would know, oh, she can't contribute to, our rent, or she can't
Exactly.
contribute to date nights because she has this looming debt that she's trying to chip away at. But it kind of doesn't tell me that she's trying to chip away at it if she didn't bring it up for 3 years and is refusing to sign a prenup. It kind of sounds like you may have dodged a bullet.
The thing is, with that Reddit thread, actually, he did a follow up with it and they did separate. I guess the conversations just weren't getting any better and she became more agitated that he kept bringing up the debt issue.
Red
And
flags.
yeah, so therefore he did dodge a bullet.
Yeah, good for him. I mean, it's sad that some people try to take advantage of others financially, but it's important to have these conversations so that you can understand where people are at and make sure that you're on the same page. Marriage is not something that should be taken lightly. I think every couple should get a prenup, especially if you have something, that you own that is of value before you enter into the relationship. I mean, I've heard some people saying like that they don't have anything, so there's like no point to have a prenup, and I think that's valid. But, if you know that you are in a good situation, you need to protect that.
Well, even if you don't have anything, you still have something, which is your credit history.
Yes.
You don't want that defaced by terrible purchases from your partner or something like that,
Right.
you know?
Love brings out the worst of us and the best of us, and it's
Exactly.
important to protect yourself for that.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's all we've got for this week. Hopefully, these recession indicators were interesting to listen to, and you got some tips and tricks on how to prepare yourself in the future. And this Am I the A hole? How to protect yourself.
Yeah. So thank you guys for listening. We really appreciate each and every one of you. We love meeting you guys in person, knowing that you listen to the podcast. So please keep saying hi.
Yeah, hopefully we'll see you at our live events on May 20th in Seaport in Boston and May 22nd in Rittenhouse in Philadelphia. You can sign up at the link in our bio, and we really hope we see you there.
And once again, thank you to Capital One Cafe for sponsoring this pod.
And if you want to get a free drink, you can use the link in the description below. We'll see you around.
Bye.
Bye.